Hello everyone, it's the To Know Money channel's midweek news wrap-up, where we provide quick highlights of important news items that have happened between our last coverage and now. To begin, the CME Group launched single stock futures, improving access to retail investors. Jack Daniel parent company, Brown-Forman, rejects a $15 billion takeover deal. There's a massive tug of war with the Clarity Act, with Democrats citing the president's windfall profits from the crypto industry as a conflict that's preventing them from greenlighting the bill. Moving on to earnings and AI. Coca-Cola does well with the earnings, with the World Cup being a massive tailwind. Other consumer companies have reported good earnings, hinting at a strong consumer base. CXMT, a Chinese chip maker, IPO'd with a 400% gain, resulting in it becoming one of China's most valuable companies. CXMT's DUV technology seems to give ASML's EUV technology a run for its money. High volatility in Korea leads to multiple circuit breakers. All of this seems to stem from secular financing worries, with Nvidia signing new deals with OpenAI and other companies that worry investors about the secularity of the AI trade. Moonshot seeks Nvidia chips for the next project. That's the company that's behind Kimi 3. That's the new open source model out of China that's giving Silicon Valley and other Western AI companies a run for their money. The Magnificent Seven seems to be relatively underperforming, with the Nasdaq equal weighted seeming to perform better than the actual Nasdaq. Meta disappoints with mixed earnings, while Microsoft beats. Onto the war, or the wars rather. The US-Iran conflict, at least between the US and Iran, seemed to have taken a pause early in the week. All of this came to an end eventually. I'll get to that in a second. However, the Houthis and Saudi seem to still be going at it. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu still wants the US involved in Iran. Iran surprise attacks US bases in Jordan after Benjamin Netanyahu meeting with President Trump, reigniting the conflict. The US claims all Iranian missiles were shot down. In response, the US and Saudi Arabia struck Iranian-backed militias in Iraq. The US also went further and struck Iranian targets overnight, with the US President prior promising to hit Iran 20 times harder. Iran rejects Omani proposal for joint control of the strait. At the start of the week, when there was a lull in the fighting, crude and yields dropped, with crude dropping to about $82 a barrel. However, a resumption in hostility has driven crude back to north of $90. Yields too have risen, also as a response to information coming out of the FOMC meeting, with longer dated yields rising to north of 5.2%. Egypt has reported fires caused by drone strikes on multiple LNG tankers in their Mediterranean ports. To the FOMC meeting and rates. The FOMC held a two-day meeting ending with a decision to hold rates at 3.5 to 3.75%. However, the decision had three dissenters. I think Kashkari and two others. Fed Chair Kevin Walsh held a presser and maintained the Fed is ready to react to high inflation. He also alludes to letting the bond market do some of the tightening for him instead of actually tightening rates, which seemed to really rile investors as there was a massive sell-off in bonds and equities. Take into consideration that many rates are derived from longer dated bond yields. Effectively, the Fed is posturing to tighten. Fed Chair Walsh also defended the lack of forward guidance, citing his will to avoid influencing markets as traders will trade around the forward guidance provided by the Fed. He wants the markets to be more independent. The Fed also cites three major factors driving inflation: tariffs, the AI build-out, and energy shocks. In response to the FOMC presser, bond yields, especially on the longer end, tended upwards. Meanwhile, stocks sold off. I guess there's generally a sell-off. The dollar too also lost value. On the outlook, today we have the BOE making their rate decisions, and Andrew Bailey seems to be favoring a hike. But let's see. The BOJ also is going to have their rate decision tomorrow. We're also getting US GDP data, and earnings continue with some of the Mag 7 reporting today. It's been your midweek news wrap up. This is the To Know Money channel. Have a lovely one. Thanks for tuning in.